Hi, welcome to HBCU Biz on Fire. That's right, HBCU Biz on Fire, where we have conversations with entrepreneurs, pathfinders, and innovators. That's right, we go for all three in one conversation. And so oftentimes people say, well, Howard, who are you interviewing? No, 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 no. I like to have a conversation because when you get to a conversation, it peels back the covers and you really get to see and understand what's inside of them. And today I'm super excited. We've been talking about some things before we got on the horn. And guess what? I'm super excited because I got about 5 blank sheets of paper over here and we're going to get into it. But Markeith Braden, man, how you doing today? Thanks a lot for coming on with us and being part of HBCUbiz.
I'm doing great, and I appreciate you inviting me on to the show, Howard. I've been waiting on this for a couple of weeks now.
Yeah, man, he's a busy guy, but the thing about it, he made time for us, and I appreciate that. And the time of this recording is late afternoon after a long day, so we're gonna both try to bring the energy to you as we normally would. Markeith, as we talk about that, man, let's jump right into it. Let's talk about what I like to call the drop off. You know, I'm a consistent guy because this is about Black college. Kentucky State, when you got dropped off on campus, talk about, take yourself back to those years a couple decades ago, what that was like, man.
Well, I can remember it very vividly. I couldn't actually wait to get dropped off. I looked forward to, going away for college. Being from Nashville, a lot of students and individuals that I knew would stay home and go to Tennessee State or go to Fisk. And I wanted to go to an HBCU away from home. And my uncle actually was a professor at Kentucky State University, and I never really heard a lot about it. My first choice actually was to go to Morehouse, and my mom looked at that price tag and she said, well, either you're paying for it yourself or you're not going. And so my uncle said, why don't you come on up here to Kentucky State and check it out and let me know your thoughts. And because it was 3.5, 4 hours away from home, I decided to go to Kentucky State and become a thoroughbred. And my mom did drop me off because I had wrecked my car right before the summer before going to college. So she did drop me off, and we put our things in the dorm room. And it was the first time I'd ever stayed in a dorm room because I never participated in any of those high school opportunities, prep college opportunities. But I was excited. I was excited to be 4 hours away, being the oldest of four in the single parent home, in my mother's home. I was ready to kind of have some level of independence and the ability to be able to wake up when I want to wake up versus waking up when everybody else wakes up, because once one person wakes up, the whole house is up.
The whole house is up. You talk about that. You had an uncle there at Kentucky State, 4 hours away. So you're far enough away that, mom's just not going to hop in on you. But, that the nurturing part of it, you had a natural uncle, but it's been said often to us. I heard several folks say it is going to HBCU is like going off to school and having uncles and aunts as your professors.
Yeah.
Share one of those stories or one of those times that one or two of those professors went way beyond what a professor would normally do in helping mold Markeith.
Yeah, it actually wasn't a professor. It was actually the administrative assistant in student affairs. And then it was also the housing director at Kentucky State University at the time. And, what was interesting is that I was a pretty independent person. And a lot of times I just wanted to be able to have an opportunity to share my thoughts, to talk out the things that were going on in my head at the time. Because one of the things that college did for me was really to help me to come into myself. Being at home in Nashville and, growing up with cousins and having a very close family, sometimes it's hard to come into yourself because everybody's always telling you and sharing with you what they think you are or who they think you are. And so being away from everyone, I was able to really come into myself and really grab hold of, leadership qualities and leadership skills in college. And it was Miss Fulvia Longstreet, who was the executive assistant in student affairs, and now Reverend Dr. Reginald Davis, who's a housing director, who really, gave me the space and opportunity to sit down and just talk out my thoughts, share the things that I wanted to do, to encourage me, to help keep me on, the straight and narrow, to allow me to, become a resident assistant, to kind of learn some things that way in the dormitory, but, also to encourage me to be the treasurer of Student Government Association, and then to go on to be Mr. Kentucky State University, 1999, 2000. And so it were people like that who really encouraged me and gave me the space to be able to, share my authentic self and to hone in on those skills.
I think about that, man. Gosh, I get chills because I think back to a George R. Sims, who was one of those type of people for me, and how they would challenge you to do something that sometimes outside of your thought process at the time. And they would hang around just enough so that they weren't going to let you fail by yourself.
Right.
But talk about the importance of having some people like that in your life.
It's extremely important. And I think that that's what's special about HBCUs, is that that your professors and the staff, they're there because they really want to be there to help cultivate primarily and predominantly African American students. Whether you're first generation, second generation, college student, they're really there because they really enjoy being there and want to be there to help cultivate your potential. And I think it's important too, because so many of our young people today, and even then, may have come from households where they didn't have that framework. And that's framework and being on that HBCU campus, because Kentucky State at the time and still isn't one of the larger HBCUs, but it gave people the structure and the framing that they needed in order to just to graduate, right? Because they didn't necessarily maybe have the discipline that they needed to go to school and go to class. They may not have had the aptitude really to have gotten into college, but the school accepted them to cultivate them and to
one thing I want to point out
them.
right there, what you just said is so powerful, because I think a lot of times we've had the aptitude, but we've just never been exposed to it. So when you think about friends, and I'm not for sure where you grew up in Nashville, but you had some guys that were a lot smarter than you in your class, and they just never were pushed or got exposed to what you're supposed to have. So now when you take that test, all of a sudden, and you've only had geometry, okay, you can only score X amount because the rest of it you're guessing.
Yeah.
And so,
and I was pretty fortunate as high school student. I went to one of the preferred public high schools in Nashville at the time, and though I grew up in a single parent home, many of my friends did not, and I had friends whose fathers were dentists and doctors, and I had friends whose fathers were pastors of large churches in the city, and friends whose mothers were, nurses and things like that. And I grew up in the United Methodist Church too, and so I haven't grown up in the church. Something's in my throat. Excuse me.
Grab some water if you want.
I was exposed to a lot of different opportunities on the collegiate educational level, because there were, a lot of, like I said, professional individuals that I were around. However, to speak to your point, some of my other peers and friends from high school weren't necessarily exposed to that. And so, yes, they did not necessarily have that experience or exposure that they needed to kind of pursue higher.
And that goes back to with a lot of our HBCUs, they take you where you are, meet you where you are, mold you, and then, you can't graduate without meeting the minimum requirements, but they hold your hand for a moment and then press you through that process.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the one thing I love about our HBCUs and how we've consistently, done that for many of them.
Right. And that happened for me. I don't know if they still have them in college today, but, I had to start in the 099 math and the 099 English, right? Those were the pre courses to actually get into.
Right, the pre-credit courses. Yeah, you got credit for this, but it didn't count towards your graduation because you needed to.
Right. And, and I needed that. And that's where I had the Dr. Helms, who was the math professor who really worked with the students in the 099, because he knew we had the potential. It was just some things that we were missing,
right,
that needed to be, encouraged, needed to be matured, and needed to be challenged in order for us to move to that next level. And, I think I graduated from college with a 3.2, 3.3 GPA. And I can't really say that I was the best student. I just learned how to really work hard towards the things that I wanted to achieve, majoring in biology and minoring in chemistry, because I thought that at the time that I wanted to become a physician, and follow that track, and went to another HBCU for graduate school, Meharry Medical College, and got my master's in public health, and stayed in the sciences and the healthcare arena. But I don't remember or recall a time that I liked science prior to college and graduate school.
Let's stay there for a moment then, because I think a lot of people, I won't say a lot of people, are stuck in positions in life because of some reason. What made you be willing to say, hey, this is not what I want to do? Even though I have the degrees in it, this is not what I want to do. And we're going to talk a little later about specifically what you do now, but let's, if you would share that.
Well, I did what I was taught, right? I did everything that they said would help to create a successful life.
Yeah.
I pursued the degree in the sciences, right? And STEM is still big, right? They still want kids to major in STEM. I pursued the master's degree in public health and healthcare administration, because, hey, where's healthcare going? You'll always be able to have a job, get a job, and this, that, and the other. And so I pursued all of that. But what I began to realize as I began to mature and become an adult was that it was more than just getting a salary and having good benefits and climbing the corporate ladder. Because what I realized was that I was climbing that corporate healthcare ladder. I was getting the promotions, and I was, really progressing in my career, but I wasn't satisfied. I wasn't fulfilled. I wasn't happy doing what I would, as soon as 5 o'clock came, I was out of there, right? And I wasn't getting there any early either. And so what I realized was that there was more to life than, trying to get a quote unquote good job. And I came across a quote, I'll never forget it, by the late Dr. Miles Monroe. And the end of the quote says that the greatest failure in life is to be successful at the wrong assignment.
Yep.
What I was doing was being successful at the wrong thing. And that's what inspired me to pursue what I do today.
And Markeith just mentioned to you, to all listeners, the book by Dr. Miles Monroe, but one of the greatest books that helps you, there are two books. One, Pursuit of Purpose, and then the other one is The Power of Vision. Those are two books that would help any man or woman get clarity on why they exist.
Right.
On their why. And so that's something that's real powerful. So Markeith, we're going to take a short break. If I was in radio, they said we have bills to pay, but in podcasting, you do too, because podcasting ain't free. People think it is, but it's not. There is a cost to it. But with that, we'll be right back with HBCU Biz with Mr. Markeith.
Awesome.
Hey, welcome back to HBCU Biz on Fire. Hey, I'm excited about my guest today as we dive deeper into this gentleman who was trained for the sciences, but he's treating marketing as a science. Okay. He was trained for the sciences, but he's treating marketing as a science. And so, Markeith, let's get into that side of the onion there, man, because we talked a little bit about you going to Kentucky State, then going to Meharry, majoring in biology and chemistry, in essence, at Kentucky State, and then going into public policy at Meharry. Most people only think about it as a medical school because it's a great medical school, but also public policy and medical
Public
sciences,
health, health
public
sciences,
health.
health
Yes.
management. Yeah.
So those are areas at Meharry. So shout out to Meharry College in Nashville, Tennessee, for those who may not know where the Meharry is. But talk about that transitional moment. Here you were, and I made this note because there were two things that I'm gonna touch on after this. Is one, that successful life versus that satisfaction. So success versus satisfaction.
Right.
Why can't you have both? And
Yeah.
to me, that's where you should be. You should be happy and satisfied with the success that you have. So
Yeah.
talk about that, man. Climbing the ladder on the wrong wall.
Yeah. And as I stated, that quote but from the late Dr. Miles Monroe about the greatest failure in life is being successful at the wrong assignment. And the thing was that I was actually preparing myself to make the transition from employee to entrepreneur, but they beat me to the punch. And what the impetus was for me to, jump into entrepreneurship and really began to pursue the thing that I truly had a passion for, that was innately my gift and that I knew God would make room for. I ended up being laid off in 2014, April the 4th of 2014.
It's funny how we remember those dates, don't we?
Yeah, I remember the date because I was on a mission to do something new for myself. And I always wanted to be a speaker. I always enjoyed teaching and sharing knowledge and really being able to inspire minds. And so along my journey professionally, I still did a lot of public speaking, colleges and universities, even did speaking at some of the major corporations, affinity groups here in Nashville, like Caterpillar, and did a lot of different things like that as a speaker. And I began to get questions from others, Markeith, how are you getting paid to speak? How are you getting these opportunities? And so I began to understand that what they really were asking me was, how did you start to brand and market yourself in order to get these engagements? So I started Markeith Braden and Company, LLC, as a personal brand, business coaching and consulting, as well as digital marketing services. And from there, in order for me to expand my market base and expand my influence and impact, I started a podcast. And at the time, the podcast was called the Shift Your Life Podcast. Well, we've gone through a couple of iterations, and I've ended up with the Maximize Your Brand with Markeith Braden podcast, where we really talk about, how do you align with your true purpose, position that purpose so that you can profit from that purpose to create the life that you truly crave. Because I believe that we all have a gift. We all have something that was innately given to us that comes easy to us, but hard to other people. And that thing, and sometimes some of us have more than one, but that thing that you have can provide value to others and translate into income to where you can leverage your expertise and your personal brand to create, like I said, the life that you crave. And so today, I, do personal brand business coaching and helping corporate executives, corporate professionals who have a desire to go into consulting, coaching, speaking, to learn how to properly market themselves as a brand and as an expert to create a business that I like to say is location free and very profitable.
That is, a question that we talk about location free, because you're able to operate it from anywhere that
Right.
you have internet access, literally. Um, but, dive in a little deeper, if you would, because help, someone's listening saying, man, I've heard this thing. I got to personally brand myself, but talk about it. Maybe share one story from one of your clients, the success of that, of properly positioning and propelling your personal brand. So, playing
Yeah,
off a whole bunch of peas there, guys, just having a little fun.
one of my most recent clients, very successful in her career, very successful in the healthcare space. Nashville is a major hub for
Mhm.
healthcare. But one of the things she realized at the age of at 50 was that, hey, there's some things that I want to do for myself.
Wow.
I've done a lot for this company. I've done a lot for the causes of the company, but yet I've not paid enough attention to the things that really bring me joy and happiness. And a lot of times people end up at that space because they may have had some health challenges or some type of life altering event for them to realize that, what am I living for?
Yeah, that
And so
crossroads.
say that again.
I said that crossroad, that moment you're like, oh, hold up, I'm doing all of this and for what?
Right, right. And so you get to the point in your life where you're saying to yourself, what legacy will I leave? What impact will I make? What will be the story that people will have once I'm no longer here? And so what we began to do was to hone in on her expertise, hone in on the thing that nobody can do better than her, on the thing that we can say she's the best that ever did it. And we began to position that in the marketplace for the individuals who need what it is that she has to offer as a consultant, as a coach in the area of uh, strategic business planning, in the area of being able to properly learn how to network among organizations for capacity building. Because these were things that she did on the corporate level that she realized that, I could do these things for myself as a consultant. Then she also wanted to write a book. How do I begin to, market my book once it's complete?
Right.
Well, all of that really, I believe, is connected to one's personal brand. That a lot of times we don't necessarily do business with businesses. We actually do business with people.
I heard someone say this, and it brings up a great point. It's not B2C or B2B, it's P2P,
Yeah.
person to person.
Person to person.
And that's that power of that personal brand. So as you help her shape that, I hear someone out there, this engineer that's, thinking about going out in his own construction company, or this salesperson and say, hey, I could do this for myself. Is what in your experiences help people really own that process? Because see, it's one thing to tip your toes in the water, as I call it, but it's another thing to jump in with both feet and say, hey, I own this process.
Right. It's a mind developing opportunity, right? Entrepreneurship is really more mindset than it is strategy, that it is, building the business, than it is generating revenue. It's all about the mindset. And so we always start with helping our clients to fully understand that their confidence will sell better than any offer, package, or product that they have.
Why is
And if
that?
you're
Dive into that a little bit, because that, I think I understand, but I want to see from your standpoint why you're saying that, because a lot of people feel I need that fully polished website. I got to have all the drip campaigns together before I even go out and sell. Uh, so why is that?
I think it's because, the more confident you are in being able to solve people's problems, the more you have the opportunity to connect. Really, websites logos, all of these aesthetics is not what connects to the person to
Mm.
person, right? What connects to the person is your conviction and your story and your confidence in knowing that you can help them get from point A to point B. Whatever it is that you're offering, whether it's a yogurt store or if it's a coaching business or if you're a plumber, right? That you can build business with your confidence,
Yeah.
with learning how to put yourself out front. I like to say that true personal branding is alignment with purpose and placing it on full display in the marketplace.
Repeat that again there. Alignment with purpose and placement.
One's alignment with purpose and putting that on full display in the marketplace. What am I saying? That once you are aligned and confident in knowing what your purpose is, you're willing to put yourself out front in order to let people know by waving your flag and letting them know I can help you.
Yeah. You know, and I've been guilty of not doing that sometimes. And when I look back at my life, you often have people say, man, you know, you get caught in those moments, and you probably been there, um, where you're not thinking about selling, you're just serving.
Right. Serving.
And they're watching you and they're like, what the heck? I didn't know you could do that. I didn't realize, where did that Markeith come from? And all of a sudden you like, when you step back and look at it, you're like, hold up, that's been to me all the time. I mean, okay, now how do I, you know, sell that, or how do I position that so I can make a living
Right.
doing what I serve? Because that's really what selling is. And how do you help people overcome that mindset? Because oftentimes people fear the sell.
Well, I think people have to really, revisit the story that they're telling themselves. That we have to really unearth some of those things that we have bought into, limiting beliefs that we've bought into, and we have to uproot those things in order to replace them with what the truth is. And the truth is that you have everything you need to be a success. And that if you have the conviction and you have the thought of being an entrepreneur or doing your own thing, then that means that the seed was planted. What are you going to do to grow it? What are you going to do to cultivate it? What are you going to do to water it? Because the seed was there. And that we all have a purpose. Is everyone meant to be an entrepreneur? Absolutely not. But does everybody have something that they're supposed to provide value to the world with? Yes. The question is are you willing to leverage the thing that you've been given in order to make an impact, and while at the same time you can also make income?
Man, you just blessed me, because I've actually sat down. I always tell folks I help them move from ideas through information to implementation for impact and income. Because if you don't have impact, then you're not going to have sustained income from that. And that's something that you have to look at. So I had to put a star by that note there, because I got to come back to that one. You know, so as we talk about this and get ready to wrap up here, gosh, time does fly when you get into it. Think about how do people best connect with you? Not only connect with you, but in today's environment, who are you best serving, and who should connect with you?
Yeah, well, if we are watching on video, I'm going to put down there a little lower third on my camera, and you can reach out to me at my website, markeithbraden.com, or on social media, I'm at Markeith Braden. But also, if you're interested in just, connecting and being a part of my community, I have a free PDF that people can get called The 7 Stages to Shift Your Brand. The 7 Stages to Shift Your Brand. And if you text brand me, all one word, no spaces, brand me to 77222, brand me to 77222, you will be able to gain access to that checklist that I created, 7 Stages to Shift Your Brand checklist. And that will add you to my email list as well as to our mobile community so that you can, be in the know of what's going on with Markeith Braden and Company.
Well, the other thing that does too with a checklist, it helps to see how far in or out of alignment you are. That's what a checklist really does. And so you can, look at those things, those 7 things, and by texting the word brand me, all one word, brand me, to 77222, or you can go to markeithbraden.com or on all social media. And he does respond, ladies and gentlemen. So connect with him. He and I met through LinkedIn. Literally, that's how we met. Even though we're fraternity brothers, we still connected through LinkedIn. Probably have met in a previous lifetime, but that's the great thing about HBCUs and the Divine Nine. You're only one phone call away from the right person.
That's right.
Real quick as we wrap up here, I got a few questions I love. I call it the wild card question: heart versus head. Which should you follow?
Heart versus head. Which should you follow? I think that it depends on the situation. I think that there have been moments where my heart has gotten me into some trouble. And there have been moments where my head has gotten me into some trouble based on the situation. So I think that what's most important is our ability to be able to discern what we should be using in any given moment. Our ability to be emotionally connected to the situation enough to know what is the best decision. But then the second most important thing I think is that even if it wasn't the best decision, having the ability to understand that it wasn't a failure, but it was just only a stepping stone toward making a better decision.
All right. Your favorite book all times, other than the Bible?
Favorite book all time. Man, that is a good one. Favorite book all time. Actually, I'm going to lift up Dr. Dennis Kimbrough's What Makes the Great Great.
What Makes the Great Great, Dr. Dennis
I really
Kimbrough.
enjoy that book.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's actually celebrating 30 years this year of Think and Grow Rich, the Black Choice. Wow. It's been that long, man. So great thing. Current book that you're reading?
Right now, as I shared with you in the pre-show, I'm really learning more about mastering marketing. So I picked up Dan Kennedy's Magnetic Marketing book to really kind of hone in on some of those traditional skills.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, what Markeith is talking about because what he does in the branding space, he really wanted to devote this year mastering marketing. And I challenge you is whatever you're going into is put a theme around that year.
Yeah.
And so the things that you consume, let it be around that. And that helps make you an expert in that area. Because a lot of stuff that Dan Kennedy dropped on that ink pages is going to help a whole lot of people through Markeith. My last question as we close out, man, it's May time frame, graduation, and you're back on campus. What you going to tell the graduating seniors?
What will I tell graduating seniors? I'll tell them this. I end all of my podcast episodes with this. And that is to always shoot for the top because it's the bottom that's overcrowded. That at the end of the day, that you always have people at the bottom wanting you to operate and vibrate at their level. But if you stay focused above the bottom's vibration, you'll surely get to where you're trying to go.
Stay above that bottom vibration so you can oscillate with the top. Hey, I love it. I love it. I love it, Markeith. Hey, thanks again. Hey, make sure you connect. Thanks again for being a guest on HBCUbiz. Man, I want to appreciate you taking time and rescheduling, with us, because that's one thing that people don't understand in this space is that mastering all these schedules in today's environment,
right,
seems to be more than it used to be. So thanks again. Make sure you connect with Markeith. One of the things you can do is brand me at 77222. Just simply text the words, no word, it's one word, brand me, at 77222, or go to markeithbraden.com, and on all social, you can connect with Markeith. Hey, we're excited about having him on HBCUbiz on Fire. Hey, we hit it again, man. I haven't struck out yet. That just tells you the depth of the talent pool in this HBCU field. All this great talent that we have, and it's our, HBCUbiz is our mission to share more of that with you. And so hopefully you learn something that you can use to take your business to the next level. And if you need help with that, Markeith is there to serve you. So simply reach out to him. Once again, as always, in closing on HBCUbiz, I challenge you to be the best you possible, because guess what? Everybody else is taken. If you try to be anybody else, you can only be second best. And the view doesn't change when you're in second place. Hey, take care. God bless. And we shall see you on HBCUbiz on Fire.